Hello and welcome to Ware Gaming Weekly. My name is Nick, and across the world from me, drinking a Dr. Pepper, is Josh. Say hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
This episode is all going to be dedicated to mostly Ghost of Tsushima. So, Ware Gaming Ghosts is the title of this episode.
Ware Ghosting Weekly.
Yeah, Ware Ghosting Weekly. Oh, I like that. That'll be our like a Halloween editions of our podcast.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Josh? Before we get on to that,
well. Had a nice off day. Worked on a truck, brakes, rotors, that kind of stuff. Had Mark's feed store with Mama and Papa.
Oh, nice.
It was nice.
Sounds good. I walked the dog. I made breakfast. I got these new Oreos that are coconut caramel Oreos, and they taste. I think you'd like them if they didn't have the
coconut.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't really taste the coconut, but there are pieces of coconut in there. But what it does taste like is a golden graham. It tastes like golden grahams, which is weird. Like my friend tried them, and he's like, "Yeah, those smell and taste just like golden grahams." And
bizarre.
But then there's like pieces of coconut. So that part is a little. But honestly, it doesn't taste like coconut at all. But they are very good.
We have these coconut air fresheners at work that are sometimes they're ripped open and it just smells like, like very strong coconut. And it's gross.
I love coconut. But beyond that, we're just going to get into what we've been playing, which I was going to talk for maybe 2 seconds about Streets of Rage 4, which I got on the Switch when I went to Kentucky. I wanted something to play, and I played maybe a couple levels of it and played around with the different characters, and it's a lot of fun. It didn't quite grab me in the way I wanted to. So
yeah, beat 'em ups are hard to get into. Either you love them or you're like, all right, I've had my fill.
Yeah. So there's that. But Josh, we already talked about we've had a month since The Last of Us Part 2 came out, and that was the last big game. So now the final of the 4 big PlayStation exclusive titles that we've heard about since 2016 or 17 are finally out. So and I've spent maybe about 5 hours playing Ghosts. I don't know how long you've been playing.
More than
that. So why don't we just get into it? Josh, tell me what you think about Ghost of Tsushima so far.
I'm thoroughly enjoying Ghost of Tsushima. It is exactly the Assassin's Creed Japan that we've always wanted. It takes a lot of. It's got. And it's got some of the age of Assassin's Creed, like 2010, 2012. All those mission structures seem very are very reminiscent of early 2010s. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just things have progressed since then. Other than that, though, the combat I think feels really good. It's open. For some reason there's not a lock on, which is kind of strange. But at the same time, they don't also only attack you one-on-one. So sometimes they'll attack you multiple from both ends, and so being locked onto one.
Sometimes they all attack you at once.
So
at
if
least
you're
that's
locked onto one,
they all attack you.
It might prevent you from dodging attack from behind. So I could see why they kind of steered away from a lock-on mechanic. But I think overall it feels really good. I'm really enjoying I'm playing with the Japanese language track and English subtitles. I think that's the correct way to play this game. I can't imagine hearing them talk with an English Japanese accent, because there are Japanese actors who are doing the English versions too. So they're going to have a Japanese, like I haven't heard it, so but I assume it's got a Japanese style of English speaking, right?
Maybe. But yeah, I think the way we're playing it is the way to play it. I haven't tried Kurosawa mode yet. The black and white mode I have not tried, but I do like the Japanese language track.
I think it is a gorgeous game. The photo mode is incredible. I use it Like way too much. I spend way too much time. Like there's like constantly a moment to, oh, I need to hit this. I need to hit and
Yeah. I love how accessible they made it
it's
too.
so
Like you don't have
easy.
to do
You
anything
just hit
crazy.
it right on the D-pad and you're there. There's no like other menu to get to. There's no like, do you want to go to photo mode? It's like you're there, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. I do love the environmental navigation that you have these foxes that'll pop up and lead you to their den, or you have these golden birds that'll take you to special locations. There's no GPS, so you swipe up on the touchpad, which between uh, I guess Last of Us used the touchpad, right? It was doing something with the
Yeah.
touchpad. And this game, I think this is the most use I've gotten out of the touchpad in quite some time.
Yeah.
There's some really cool things like you could change the weather
Yeah.
by playing the flute, which is awesome. You can bow, and if you're close enough to like a dead body on the ground, and you bow to them, he'll say something to the effect of like "rest in peace," or "I hope you find your reward," or I will avenge you," or something like that. And it's really just neat and respectful. It seems. There's a swipe to open, draw your sword, and then sheath your
Yeah.
sword. And then there's just the swipe to tell me where to go, and then the
Yeah.
wind will direct you into the location of the current selected objective.
Yeah. No, I love those. Though I will say, it is frustrating when you want to hit the touchpad for the map and it doesn't open the map. I'm like, come on! I've tapped it and been like, oh crap!
So
And then
many
I've done it 3 like times in a row. And yeah, but I do love the. I love when you do the sword and there's blood on it and the way he flicks it off, or he'll wipe it off on his sleeve. But yeah, I love that part too.
I had this one neat moment where I didn't have a mission selected, and I went to select the wind, and he just reaches in his pocket and pulls out a maple leaf.
Oh, really?
And lets it go.
Interesting. I've not seen that.
And he just like posed, and I stopped it right there and took a screenshot. So the animated and non-animated things cause problems. So in the photo mode, it's really cool to have it all animated. But like if I go into photo mode to select something and it's still on animated mode, everything else goes on except for him. So like he pulled out the maple leaf and let go, and I hit the select, but it was still animated. So the maple leaf flew away, so I didn't get to catch that moment. Which I can catch it again because I know how to do it now. But he doesn't do it every time though.
Yeah, we'll see. Anytime that there's not something selected and I swipe up, it just goes. There's nowhere to like. There is no wind to call.
Like,
yeah.
Crash.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you said. I think the world is beautiful, very well realized. I do like the natural signposting of just knowing where to go and seeing like smokestacks and stuff and knowing that there's something everywhere. And I feel like that's kind of what the Breath of the Wild aspect of the game is. The traversal in terms of like climbing and stuff, I think is a little weird. Like climbing, like you can't just climb any hut. Like you have to find the avenue instead of just like jumping and climbing. And he's not a, he doesn't parkour necessarily. I mean, you can kind of make him do the things you need to do, but it's not, that's not how he stays mostly on the ground.
Right. You do unlock some traversal mechanics. Like I think the biggest thing, game changer, was being able to combat roll out of a jump. That allows you to jump from a pretty significant height and survive the fall without taking any damage. And I think the upgrade trees are very interesting. There's so many areas to put your your skill points to use. You can pretty much create how you want to play. There's like 4 different like guard stances, which I think are very interesting, and they drastically change how you fight.
Yeah, today actually when I was playing, I started getting a little better when I was switching stances while in the same fight and not trying to force the same stance in the same fight. It's hard to remember to do that sometimes.
Yeah, I still have a problem switching because um, it's not a necessarily a intuitive thing to do. Is
Yeah.
to switch in the middle of a fight.
Well, not only that, but then it, when you are in water stance and you need to break someone's shield or at least get behind someone's shield, you hold it and then tap tap it, hold tap tap, for triangle, to make progress on shielded characters. But then if you go back to stone stance, because those are the only two I have at the moment, and then the way you interact with triangle is different. So not only do you have to remember to do it in the first place, you also have to know the patterns under each section. So it's kind of like a fighting game, I guess, in that sense, where you have like categories and then you have subcategories of button layouts, and well, this is defensive and this is blah blah blah, and I'm like, so I think that, so I was telling Josh right before we got started that I was a little frustrated with the game, and it kind of feels like the same way I was frustrated with Final Fantasy VII. So I'm assuming in the next 5 hours, it's going to click magically and I'm going to be able to slay all these guys. But I've gotten killed so many times. I'm playing on normal that I've gotten the message are you sure you don't want to try this on easy? I'm like, screw you. And I mean, I remember with Final Fantasy VII Remake getting pretty down about it and being like, I don't know if I want to keep playing because I just keep dying and it sucks. And then I figured it out. So I'm hoping, I'm waiting for that moment where it just becomes natural.
Are you? And you got to remember to utilize your your throwing things as well.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I know how to shoot a bow, but I don't know how to do the dart thing. I know it said to do L1 and R1 or something, and it just won't work.
No, so for the throwing knives, it's just R1.
Oh, really? You don't have to point it, or?
No, it automatically points. Especially as you upgrade that, they're very useful, especially against guys with shields and spears. Even the brutes and the Mongol leaders. If you throw them, it'll stun them for a second, so you can go in for an attack.
Oh.
And you can increase your capacity, and you can throw up to 3 at a time. They're also really good for those wild boars that are a pain. And
I've only gotten interacted with them once, and I'm like, what is chasing me? And then
the boars and the dogs. The bears are easy. I'm not having a single problem with a bear. I shot a bear once in the head with an arrow. It was fine. The boars will attack you relentlessly. They're ridiculous, but they're really easy to knock out. Hit them with the throwing stars, and then go in for a kill. They're also really good at slowing at interrupting archers, which tend to be really annoying.
Yeah,
it's really important.
That's the scenarios I get stuck in. Whereas you have 3 guys with spears and shields, and so you're trying to dodge and dodge and dodge, and then you got the arrow guys coming at you that they'll shoot an arrow right when you're trying to dodge an undodgeable, unblockable attack, and then you get hit with the arrow, and then you get hit, and then you're dead. And I'm like, and all my resolve's gone and stuff. I haven't got unlocked the one where you can resolve, use 2 resolve to bring yourself back to life, the bleed out.
I haven't used that one either.
But
I just don't suck. No, no, I have died quite a few times, and it does take a lot of training. And the thing I've found interesting is at this point, I've unlocked the 4 stances. I've almost cleared out this first section. I think there's 3 sections to this game.
Yeah,
and I don't know anything past this first section where you are saving this person, but from my understanding is it gets harder.
Oh well,
but at my position currently, I mother just about anybody. I am the demon of Tsushima right now, and people are like, I've never seen a samurai fight like that. And he's like, he's no normal samurai,
Mm-hmm.
And it's starting to feel like I'm going to be just this powerhouse, and now I'm expecting to get through this section and then get my teeth kicked in and have to figure out another way to fight. I've even used smoke bombs, which are super useful. When you get surrounded and overwhelmed, you just throw a smoke bomb down, and it'll cause everybody like start choking and coughing, and you can do an assassination or run away. And running and hiding is a definite tactic to reclaiming the upper hand in a battle.
Yeah. I thought the juxtaposition, I was telling you about this earlier, or whatever, the difference between how the game wants you to play, or at least how it feels like the game wants you to play, versus how you end up playing it. It was like, so the idea of being stealthy in the game is considered dishonorable. Stabbing someone in the back is not the samurai way, and there's a huge story point about that. But then it's like the game wants you in certain areas to go around and assassinate, like in Assassin's Creed, to the point where it makes me feel conflicted a little bit, because like if I want to play the honorable way, that's interesting. What, like, a departure from the other Sucker Punch games, or even other games like this, where there's not really a honorable meter. There's not like you committed a terrible act, so you get your ghost level up. But if you leveled up your other one, then you have the more samurai meter. But I mean, obviously, the game's called Ghost of Tsushima, so it wants, I think, narratively speaking, it wants you to forget some of that samurai stuff. But I still feel bad, like almost like there's this.
You're betraying the code.
It checks me out of the game a little bit, because I'm like, I thought I was supposed to be, doing this. Now, granted, I've been doing a lot of side stuff, so maybe the next time I do like a Golden Path story mission, I will feel more in line with what the story is. But right now, I feel very much like, I don't think I should be doing this. And also, it's not intuitive enough to try to go around and assassinate people. Because there's not a lot of, like, in Batman or in Assassin's Creed, there's not a lot of like lateral movement. So it's trying to figure out how to get around these people and crawl under houses and stuff. Normally, I end up just going
There's not a lot of vertical movement, you mean?
I said lateral.
Yes, vertical.
Lateral is this?
Lateral is around.
Oh, vertical movement.
Flat, lateral.
Longitudinal movement. Anyway, so there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But I mean, I think, it's still fun.
Yeah, I think
story-wise.
Well, I was going to say, to your point about feeling conflicted, I think that's the point. You're supposed to feel conflicted because he feels conflicted. He feels like he shouldn't be doing this way, but he's also we're also facing extinction. Basically, the Mongolian army is going to completely take over, and they're trying to take over Japan, and so we have to, as Jin, learn a new way, or come up with a new way of surviving. It's almost like Mel Gibson did in The Patriot, where battles were fought in lines, and you never shot the commander. It was always there was a time and place for battle. Everybody stood in a line and you shot at each other, and then whoever died, and whoever was left standing was the victor. And then when Mel Gibson was going through and killing the leaders and killing from the shadows, like a guerrilla tactics, that was considered shameful and cowardly. But that was the only way for a smaller group of warriors to overtake the bigger group.
Yeah,
especially one like the Mongols, who don't share the same ideals and consider the same things honorable.
Yeah. I haven't felt so far really compelled by the story. I mean, I think like the overarching part of the story.
Sorry about the dog. Can you hear it?
Right. Yeah. I feel like the overarching point of the story.
Harvey, cut it out. Xander running upstairs. And that means Gemma's running upstairs. It means he's yelling.
Yeah. I'll start at the top of that. I said I haven't felt the story super compelling just yet. I think Jin is compelling as a character. and like I appreciate like the like I like what the story is doing. I like the you know rising up, getting a team together to overthrow, like that I like. But in terms of like the small details in the middle, I haven't felt super invested in those things. Though I do like there was one I really liked. There's a girl who is being trained by this bowmaster, and then stuff happens, and that story was really interesting to me. And I'm getting more like deeper involved with some of these characters, but so far everything feels just a little bit out of like reach in terms of like me caring. And I guess that's probably one of the drawbacks of going from like The Last of Us to this, which is, I mean, they obviously have very different goals, but like when everything that you do in that game is intentional, then going to this, which is an open world freeform game where the conversations matter, but don't matter in the same way they do in that game. So it's a little different coming to that.
Yeah, I think part of that is, I think there's a whole lot of, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
We have this huge open area, and I am thoroughly enjoying going around and doing all the side missions and hitting the hot water springs and doing the haikus and things like that. But there is a lot of downtime between the story beats, which can make it seem less engaging, I think.
Yeah.
If there was less to do and there was a more critical path, as far as like I'm doing a few of these things between each story mission.
Yeah.
It might feel a little bit more engrossing. But I feel like we get like snippets of story, and then we get side story, which is good for building the world. But then when you do a whole lot of side story, and there's something everywhere, and then we finally get to the next story beat, and then we do that story beat, and then we got to keep coming back to the same location, and then so I think a little there are some pacing problems, even in even just for having just so much to do is because that.
Another aspect that I do love about it, because there is a lot that I mean, I do think the game is beautiful. I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on this game. And also maybe just because I haven't been able to invest as much time, or have chosen to invest as much time as I want to. But I do love, like, there's a sense of magical realism in the game with, I mean, like things you mentioned, like the flute, like being able to change the weather with the flute, or letting the wind be your guide. And also how it's rooted in the story, where like right at the beginning, it talks about his father being let your father be the wind that gives you direction, and then that's what that is. And so the fact that there's this touch to it all, and then having the haikus, which aren't fantastical, but like the birds bring you to the haikus, and like how the world just is there to help each other out.
You feel like you're playing a legend.
Yeah,
and it's not like super supernatural,
right?
It's just that hint of supernatural elements.
It feels like reading when you read poetry or read stories about those times, and like
it's just like the musician that you run across. He's telling these fantastical stories of this armor or this weapon, this legendary weapon, and doesn't sound extremely far off from the kind of story that you're creating. Like you're just a normal samurai living his, doing what he's supposed to do, but the legend around you grows, and there's just enough of that like mysticism in it that, like, this self-healing and the heavenly strike where you can strike down foes and enemies in one hit. And
one thing I told Josh is that it felt like, in a weird way, and not I guess maybe not super weird, is that it feels like a Star Wars game. And just because, like, I mean, that's the big inspiration for Star Wars to begin with, is samurai stories, and you having the lone warrior, the lone samurai who's off to battle the empire that's taken over. But just like the way the story is told. And even some of the music cues are done the very same way.
Mhm.
And it's also very like you have Kurosawa, Seventh Samurai, which is a movie about a guy getting 7 people together to overthrow people who took over a village, and that's what Magnificent Seven is. The cowboys going around getting 7 people to fight off this village of bandits and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
having all those points in story in film history and in art history, I think is neat to be able to play that level of game.
I was going to talk about how I liked how Jin, he often downplays the supernatural things that people are like, there's ghosts or spirits that are killing people in these woods, or this house is haunted or something like that. And he's like, what is this nonsense? He said that there was one, like, people were coming out of these or finding bodies with katana wounds and sword wounds, and he's like, well, men need swords, spirits do not. So there's probably like,
Yeah.
he's very matter of fact about a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, someone I read online said, that the comparison to Assassin's Creed makes sense, but in a weird way, it feels a lot like The Witcher. And in terms of the way it plays, and then also in the story, because when I was reading one of the Witcher books, a lot of what Jin is doing is kind of what, Geralt does. Like, someone says something like, there's ghosts in the forest or something. He's like, yeah, that's probably not what it is, but I'll go check it out. And then you go and do that thing. And of course, he's not looking for financial gain or anything in this, but there's just that aspect.
I can't compare it to The Witcher because I just didn't play more than an hour of it.
Oh yeah. I'm
but I do find it is very much the Assassin's Creed we always wanted in the best ways, and it has some of the faults of Assassin's Creed. Where there's some repetitive mission structures, and you see the same kind of like side quests over and over, like the random encounters. Usually, a group of like Mongols are surrounding a prisoner, and then you got to save the prisoner, and the prisoner tells you of this rumored location, and then you go find the rumored location. There's a lot of things like that. I do like the recruitment aspect of it. I wish I was a little bit more. I wish either it was. It goes back to that streamlining the story a little bit more into the gameplay, where you get to recruit all these people to help you do this next task, as far as taking down the local warlord and getting into the next location. I do wish there was a little bit more clear about what you're doing. And flesh those characters out even more so. Like, I think there's one character that you were just like, I think who you're working with right now. I don't think they've fleshed him out enough. I'm hoping to see more of him.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of there's a lot of potential for all these characters to be super interesting, and not that they're not right now, but I'm still pretty early into the game, so I don't want to make any of my opinions seem definite. It's just based off of what I've seen and done so far. I'm like, I love a lot about this, but it's frustrating, and I haven't quite resonated with some of these people. But I do like Jin a lot. I think he's a really good protagonist.
Yeah, I really like Jin, and seeing his journey and seeing his struggles and his conflict. And then I recently, there was this cutscene to his uncle, where the captor is said, "Hey, I thought samurai were like honorable. Why am I finding men with sword stabs in their back?" He's like, "Oh, my nephew would never do anything like that." And seeing this like grow of he's gonna rescue this his uncle, and we're gonna see this conflict between him and his uncle now that he's strayed from the samurai path. And I'm
so I would imagine
to get back into it.
I would imagine like just in any fights, eventually there could be like sword wounds through someone's back. Like,
yeah. I think it was implied that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if that's a definitive, like, oh, he definitely stabbed him in the back. Like, you never know what happened, but yeah. So I was curious. How far in did you think you were? Like 10 hours, maybe longer than that.
I'm probably about like 10, 12 hours in. I think.
Yeah. How long do you think the game is? Like 40, 50 hours?
I can't even begin to tell you. If it's all as long as this, then maybe 35, 40 hours. If it starts speeding up, which I don't know if it will or not, maybe 30 hours.
Yeah. I can't imagine you spent that much time on The Last of Us. I can't imagine, like, so this is a much bigger world than that. So
right.
So yeah, I'm imagining probably like a 60-hour game at the end of it all.
I think 60 might be a little long. If it gets to 60, I think it'll. Based on what we played, it might overstay its welcome at 60 hours.
Maybe.
And I think it needs to hit about 40 hours to really hone in on what it's doing.
Sure. What do you think that, like, with this game being like the last of the 4, what do you think this sets up for the future? Like, now we know, like, all the games have come and gone. The last 4 PS4 exclusive titles got 9s or 10s, except I can't remember if Death Stranding got a 9.
I think it got a 9. I think it got 9s. Probably 8s and 9s.
Yeah. So now we really only know about the half step with Miles Morales and then Horizon 2, which we don't even know when's going to come out. So I'm just curious how you feel about, now that this is kind of the last major PlayStation game for a while. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I'm excited to see. I still wouldn't be surprised to see Naughty Dog say something about what they're doing. Maybe not for launch, but maybe in the launch year or within.
No, I don't imagine we're going to hear anything from them until 22. But
I feel like they have to have another team doing something right now. Like, they've had another team working. It's not just Neil's team.
No, I know, but I just feel like that's true. Maybe we'll see something next year, but to have 2 games come out within a year.
I mean, I'm not talking about necessarily releasing. Well, I don't know. We're definitely going to hear from them, I think, before the end of next year.
Yeah.
And then Guerrilla, which we know they're doing Horizon 2. I wouldn't be surprised to hear they're doing not Ghost Recon.
The
other game,
Killzone.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing another first-person shooter in the background as well. I don't know who else we need to hear from. I mean, Sucker Punch.
No, I feel like Santa Monica is. I mean, now that we've heard from Guerrilla, Santa Monica is the next one to hear from. Or some of the other companies like Polyphony or whatever.
Right. Well, we know they're doing a Gran Turismo. We know 8. They're doing a Gran Turismo.
I think
something like
that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the next lineup. I imagine probably by this time next year, we will know. Well, we'll obviously know a ton more, but we'll know probably when the next full Spider-Man game is out, and we'll probably know the release date or the release window for Horizon's sequel.
Also, talking about just how next generation is supposed to eliminate all these fast travels and load times. Sucker Punch and The Last of Us, like, eliminate load times.
Yeah,
almost. I can fast travel across the map in Ghost of Tsushima, and I barely get the tip screen before it's like there.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I saw an article they actually increased the load screen just so you could read the tips.
Did they? Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said, just so you could read it. And so that like super surprises me. That's what I liked about in The Last of Us, because
You
like
die,
yeah,
you're almost instant. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like constantly saving, so you're not far off from wherever you were. So you don't have to do that. And I still manual save as well, but
Yeah, I do manual saves. I heard there's some glitches with a couple trophies.
no, I haven't.
I haven't heard
looked at
which
that.
specific trophies, but I have heard there might be a problem with one of the trophies, and the suggestion was to create different random saves.
Gotcha.
So I'm doing that as well because I might end up platinuming this game.
Yeah,
It's excellent. I think.
yeah.
I like I like the treasure maps you get to finding the special weapons or.
No, I haven't seen any of that.
I think you had to do it for the Heavenly Strike, where you would get like a map, and you'd have to look at the terrain and see if it
No.
no.
No, the Heavenly Strike was just a story.
None of them are very like difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They're just but they're interesting.
Yeah,
like good environmental storytelling using beautiful flowers and things like that. That really got.
I like the currency. It's just like supplies. It's just like endless supplies, whatever they are, and you can trade those for stuff. Yeah. It's going to be a fun game. I'll be excited to see where it goes, because if the story goes beyond just this situation with the uncle, then I'm really interested to see how that unfolds. And now I'm also curious if this is going to be a standalone game. Based off of what I know now, it seems like it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how. I mean, at least as far as this story, like Ghost of Tsushima is about a specific event in history.
Right.
Like it's not ongoing because the event, happened.
Yeah.
Like it ends. So, like, I guess I could tell other stories in the in Japanese folklore or in history or something. But as far as I don't think Jin's story is going to continue much further after this.
Yeah.
Game.
I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see where the story turns. But for me, that's all I got for Ghost of Tsushima. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I'm curious. Have you heard anything about Iron Man VR? If that was any good or?
Oh, I mean, I heard that. I think it got an 8. I heard that it was a lot of fun, but it just had a lot of loading issues.
I see. The last in the last live event they did where they were showing it off, I thought it looked very much like a PS2 game. Like very reminiscent of the fidelity and the the mission structure was very almost like Superman 64, like flying through something.
Yeah.
Like on rails, like shooting at things on the ground and in the air. And I'm really concerned that that's what that game is.
Yeah. I was, since like the VR is in storage or something, it's kind of hard to.
Well, actually, it's right over there, but it'd be
we
really.
We should crack in on some of those VR games. See if not that you have a ton of space to do it with, but
yeah, I don't want to punch the 50-inch 4K right there. So
yeah. So well. Oh, that's all the Tsushimas for Ghosts that we have this week, I would say.
We could plan on next time. We could try to do like a half this year, and is halfway done, like a game of the year so far kind of deal, or
I need to play more games. That's the problem. Is that I've only played 3 games, though. I will say I think I've played more games that have come out this year than I have in other years. There's also just because it's been Final Fantasy VII Remake and Last of Us and the Ghosts, and then I'm also Streets of Rage 4, and I'm also Paper Mario. I'm going to be
Oh
playing.
yeah.
So I haven't started playing it yet. So
Okay.
I don't. Me and a friend are sharing it, so he's got it right now. So I haven't. I won't probably start until I'm way done with this. It might be a few weeks, but
Okay.
um, but yeah. So that'll be kind of fun.
And I'm interested. I want to play Royal.
Oh yeah, I can't believe we've forgotten about that. Oh, there's not. There's
I
just
haven't
no.
forgot about it. It's just it's a big commitment that I think after Ghosts, there's not another big release until September.
Yeah, no November really, because
Well,
Cyberpunk got delayed, and
you got Avengers in September.
oh yeah,
Um,
I wasn't really worried about. I don't know if I'm going to play Avengers.
I feel like I have to
I
play.
guess if you're going to
Avengers.
play it, I'll play it. But
I mean, I'm repping the shirt. I
that's
can't
true.
like not play Avengers. Although I did see they're like, I guess they posted like a I had the Avengers assembled thing, and it really just looks like knockoff MCU. Like
Yeah,
that is the biggest detriment to this whole series. Not the biggest, but like the character designs aren't unique.
right.
They just look like discount Avengers, and you can't get past it. Like I don't
Yeah,
know whose decision it was. They could have made it more cartoony, or made it picked different like versions of the Avengers. Like go with female Thor, or go with
yeah.
the 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 Black Captain America that took over in the
Falcon.
comics.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think it was actually Falcon in the comics.
Oh,
I'm not sure who actually took over from, but that was a big deal at the time. Or just pick different versions of it and not look like you're trying as hard as you can to not
no.
be the Avengers of
Yeah,
the MCU, and it's just so frustrating. Like even down to like Black Widow is just not Scarlett Johansson.
yeah,
Like wearing the same black leather. Like I'm sure she's got other like costume designs you could pick from.
yeah.
Like
Or make one up.
the best looking Avenger in this thing is Kamala Khan, because she
Yeah,
doesn't look like anybody we've seen before.
yeah, yeah. Well, even like I know that you're not made by the same people, but like with Spider-Man, they designed their own suit for Spider-Man, and his
Right.
their Peter looks like a Peter Parker sort of.
Right.
I mean, like it
He
doesn't look.
doesn't
I
look
mean,
like
Tom Holland
Tom
discount
Holland
or
or Tobey Maguire or anybody. He looks like just their Peter Parker.
yeah,
That he just feels natural, whereas we haven't connected to any of these characters, so they don't feel natural. They just look like not Avengers,
yeah,
and I just don't know how they're going to pull this off, and I'm almost sure that they're not.
yeah.
It kind of sucks, but
Well, the gameplay doesn't look interesting to me. Like the story doesn't seem interesting to me. The only thing that'll be interesting to me is if they cross over with Spider-Man.
I
And
hope
see what
not.
happens.
I think they want to just like forget this happened.
Yeah.
I know they don't want to, because they're gonna try very, very, very hard to get this right, and
Yeah.
I hope they do. It's just
I feel like the phase of shared world games is running out a little bit. Because I mean, this last decade, starting with
but
Destiny, really, like Destiny and Destiny 2 did really well ultimately, even though they had some hiccups. And then The Division is a really good game, and you have those things, but then like Anthem didn't come out well. And now this isn't shaping up to be well.
yeah, Fallout 76.
Fallout 76. It's just, I think maybe we need to start focusing on different things. Not that there's not a room for these kind of games, but I just,
Because the idea of going into a raid and I'm Iron Man and you're the Hulk and someone else is Thor and someone else is Kamala Khan, and we all have to do our own things to defeat this raid boss. I think that sounds awesome.
yeah,
And how cool that would look to see Iron Man over here while I'm coming down with Thor's hammer, and everybody's doing their own thing, fighting the same battle. That could be really fun, and that might be what this turns out to be, even if it's not very compelling. And so I think it could, at the very least, be fun.
Yeah, it might be. So, I won't write it off just yet. So, but
I just try to like put Avengers in some of the Destiny raid encounters and thinking about like if you're in these cool locations as the Avengers, how cool would that be?
Yeah, and you have to use one of the characters. You have to use lightning to unlock the room or whatever because of something, or like the puzzle mechanics.
Or Iron Man has to do this location because he's the only one that can fly up there and get it, while Thor is doing the lightning thing, and then Hulk is holding up, a platform or something.
Yeah. I think we can talk about that being like our hopes and stuff for the game and see how it actually plays out. But yeah, I do think we should do a midpoint check-in, being like, all right, what are our favorite games so far? So
for me, I don't know how we can talk about that.
Let's talk about it on the next podcast.
Yeah.
On the next episode. So,
but, all right. Well, I guess until then, you can follow Nick.
You can follow me at Speak Nicklish on Instagram and on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Jaws1015 on Twitter, and follow the channel at WareGaming_. And until next time, say goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.